Hey guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. My name is Gina, and I believe that there's more to life than looking good, but you've got to look good too. And so today is a look good video because I'm going to be talking about some of those makeup techniques that we might be continuing to do by habit that we maybe should consider no longer continuing to do. And I'm a little bit jazzed right now because I literally just walked in the door from work. I am not nearly as polished as I was when I filmed this video earlier today before going to work, and in fact I filmed it 1.5 times. And after I filmed it and I finished getting ready and I left for work, the whole time I was at work I was bothered by what I had filmed earlier because I realized that I was so carefully trying to dance around talking about how we get old. You know, it's as if we don't talk about it, like it won't happen. But we are getting old. And I was so desperately, in my first 1.5 times, trying to dance around that topic that I came off sounding weak. And I hated that. And if you've been with me for a little while, or maybe you've seen some of my car chats or my chit chats, you know that I am all about keeping it real. No BS, just straight to the point. Tell it like it is. And so, this is why I'm a little jazzed right now, because this is going to be YouTube video 2.5, where I am going to talk about makeup techniques that you shouldn't necessarily do as you get old. Because guess what? We are getting old. We like to call ourselves mature, which is really just a fancy way of saying old. We are aging. That doesn't mean I or you are in fact old, but we are getting old. We're getting older. And our skin begins to change, and the persona that we put out there, God help us, should begin to change. But we're grown-ups, right? Like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sharing with you some of my realizations, and I wanted to just pass them along. So, if you don't agree with anything that I say, I mean, I don't even need to put that disclaimer out. But if you don't believe in or agree with what I say, that's awesome, actually. Because again, if you've been watching me for a little while or you've seen some of my talks, I am all about you having your own opinion. I respect that even more than someone who follows the crowd. And so today's video, in a nutshell, are going to be some of the makeup techniques that I've noticed that we should not continue doing as we get older. We should be very wary. We should be wary of it. We should be very wary of it. And if you think that this applies to you, awesome. And if you think this doesn't apply to you, awesome as well. My first one, the one I'm going to share, is the one that started the whole conversation running in my head. It has to do with highlighter. On the gentler note, I realized, for example, I got blown over by YouTube and all its creator talking about all these fabulous highlights or highlighters. And I bought many, if not all of them, especially the classic quintessential one. The one that comes to mind off the top of my head is the Becca Opal one. Like Moonlight, I think, is the lighter one, and that was like way too light for me, so I went for Opal, which is what a lot of people talked about. Yeah, Opal, by the way, makes me look like I got into a fight with somebody. It looks like I literally have a wound. Either that or I'm just a class A klutz and completely fell on the side of my face. That highlighter does not complement my skin at all. And so in getting wrapped up in what YouTube was talking about, and before I knew any better, I was buying highlights that had nothing to do with complementing my skin tone. So especially, and when you're younger, you can kind of pull it off, because it's art. But I kind of want to put out the perception that I'm a little bit classy. I want to be classy. I don't want to look like I fell on my face. And so when it comes to highlighters, it's so important that you make sure the tone of your highlighter goes with your skin, or the tone of your skin. Highlighter is meant to demonstrate glow, obviously. Glow and highlight, and it represents dewiness. It's to bring life to your face, because your face, especially as we get older, can get dry. When it gets dry and looks flat, we look like we're dying. And we're not dying, we're only getting older. And so we need to use highlighter strategically and not just jump on the bandwagon of what the most popular highlighters are. A drugstore one that comes to mind is the Essence Nude Highlighter. I can't remember what it's called. You know why I can't remember? Because I had to get rid of it when I saw just how weird it looked on my skin against my yellow to kind of neutral undertone. That one was quite a bit icy. And so my point is that you need to be very concerned and very wary of what tone of highlighter you are in fact using. Otherwise, it's just gonna look like a hot mess on your face. My PS when it comes to highlighter, and this is like my pet peeve. Do not put highlighter on the tip of your nose. I guess I'm actually telling you what to do. And I'm not gonna take it back because I'm telling you, highlighter doesn't belong on your nose. On the tip of your nose? What are we, a freaking unicorn? Again, highlighter is meant to bring life. We have youth. Youth is represented by dewy, fresh, reflective kind of skin. And like I said, as we get older, we start to get dry, and so it isn't quite as lush as it is when we are younger. And so we strategically put highlighter in places that would represent kind of sweat almost. Okay, I'll give you the Cupid's bow where you put, I don't put highlighter there, honestly, but okay, I'll give you that because we sweat right above our lip. Who is sweating on the tip of their nose? And if you are sweating on the tip of your nose, why are we accentuating that by putting highlighter there? That was what started the whole thing. I'm like, why am I even thinking about that makeup technique? Highlighter does not belong on your nose. I'm sorry. If you can pull it off, congratulations. Okay, my next makeup technique that we need to be very wary of as we get old or older has to do with concealer, your under eye concealer. Somewhere between here and there, it was decided that under eye concealer needs to come down into a triangle, almost even lower than our nose. I've done it. And what I would realize as the day would progress is that I had a heck of a lot of layers of makeup in this area. That's because it was going over foundation. We were putting thick concealer. Concealer by nature is thicker than foundation, generally speaking. Never mind setting powders and all of that. And so concealer was now caking my face in my area where pores are most prominent. Under eye concealer does not need to go down that low. Under eye concealer belongs, guess where? Underneath your eyes. Whether you are brightening or covering dark circles or enhancing or just matching, whatever the case is, that is where under eye concealer belongs. Otherwise, honestly, you will wind up kind of putting on, you become like a layer cake. You're putting layers of makeup. Especially for me, I've got larger pores in an area where we don't want to accentuate that sort of texture. And so, again, as we get older, our skin is not as elastic as it was when we were younger. And so, therefore, it already it isn't so tight. You know, it's looser by nature. Whether you've already got the fine lines and wrinkles or not, your skin is loosening up. And just adding layers of makeup, especially to this area, for what purpose, I still don't understand, doesn't really seem necessary and should definitely be something that you are wary of. Don't follow the tutorials that drag the concealer down. Because if you are watching those tutorials, I would look and see how old that person is. Just a challenge. Just a challenge. Okay, so going along with that same theme that as we get older, our skin begins to dry out. And now, mind you, I started with very oily skin. And I'm already seeing the effects of that as I get older. So I can't even imagine for you out there who already started with dry skin. Or maybe combination skin, and now it's just going to get worse from there. So going along with that, again, we don't want our skin to look dry and flat, because that's not what we're trying to represent. We're trying to look fresh-faced, right? And so, baking. I can't understand this. I can't. I totally get setting your under eye, setting your makeup. Not everybody even sets their face makeup, which, okay, that's great. I feel like mine would start to move around a little bit or get like streaky if I were to like touch my face, because I do touch my face a lot when I get my hair out of the way. But baking, when you put on heavy layers of powder, that acts, honestly, it acts like kitty litter. You are putting kitty litter on your face because it is absorbing whatever moisture it is that you have left on the surface of your skin. That powder is just taking it up and it's drying you out. And we spend so much time using illuminating primers and moisturizers and hyaluronic acid to try to bring moisture to our face. So to bake, I mean, just by description, baking sounds dumb. Like, I don't want to bake my face. I want to liven it up. And so the baking thing, I'm sorry, I don't get that. And if you've got anything that looks like some texture, fine lines, some dryness, anything like that going on, I can't see how baking is going to enhance that. I think part of the issue with a lot of these techniques, just as a little sidebar, is that they look good when you're first done. I guess what? When you first come out of the oven? They look good when you're first done. But as you progress through the day, and either you sweat, or it's hot, or it's cold, or whatever the case is, as you progress through the day, it doesn't last as well or continue to look as good as it did when you first did it. And I almost feel like that might be what was happening a little bit. We're like, oh, we're baking, look how smooth and just how like lustrous it looks. And yeah, and you keep going through the day. You add a little bit of face sweat or oil production or whatever, because everybody's got it, whether you've got dry skin or not. And that's a recipe for disaster. Okay, enough with the food puns. By the way, I've got a list. I'm not as cool as the young kids because they're all on their phone. They're like, okay, I've got my list for you today. No, mine is old school on a Dollar Tree pad of paper. Okay, so going along with that same idea, matte lips. Matte lips do not make our lips look any better. I'm sorry. Now, liquid lipsticks, long-wearing matte liquid lipsticks, those are great still if you're using them as a base. I totally get how you want to have long-wearing color, because color that disappears, I can't stand lip glosses for that reason, because they're gone in like 10 minutes. But if you're going to use a liquid lipstick, it is so valuable. I want to say better. It's just valuable if you were to add some kind of moisturizing agent on top of that, whether that is a gloss or a balm or a creamy lipstick or something. Bring some life to your lips. Your lips begin to dry out as you get older. They actually get thinner as well. The line, your lip line itself begins to deteriorate and isn't quite as defined as it was when we were younger. We also start to get those fine lines around our lip. And that is exactly where liquid lipstick likes to go. And then that is exactly in its mattified form, how it is major highlighted then in the center of your face. And so if you're going to use a matte lipstick, okay, go for maybe like creamy mattes, because those are a little bit kinder. But generally, if I'm using any kind of a dry lipstick of any kind, generally if they're in a tube, I'm topping it with some kind of a lip balm or maybe a lip gloss or a creamy lipstick or something, just to add a little bit of life. Got to be careful. The last one that I'm going to say, this one is like totally my personal opinion, although I too kind of base it in science just a little bit. Be wary of the winged liner. Winged liner is edgy and it's cool. I'm talking that like dramatic winged eyeliner that like is on its way up to the edge of your brow. I don't know. I just think I'm not sure that was ever a good look for anybody. At any time, I mean, I've seen some very pretty, wing liners in my, in my day watching YouTube or whatever. But especially if you've got a hooded eye, which I do, or if you're beginning to develop fine lines and wrinkles about your eyes as well, wing liner does not work well with that. You all of a sudden have creases in the road. It isn't a very smooth line. As we get older as well, your hood, if you have a hooded eye, which I do, it gets worse. It falls a little lower. And that will now significantly reduce the amount of area that you have to apply that winged liner. But also, your lid becomes not as tight, and it becomes a little almost crepey. Mine is beginning that. It hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it's kind of beginning that. And it's difficult to draw such a precise, fine, extended outside your eye line when you are dealing with those sorts of situations. And so I'm just saying be wary of it. Some people can pull off a really good wing liner, but I'm just thinking it's not for everybody, and it gets worse as you get older. That doesn't mean you can't wing out with some darker shadow. That would be beautiful, because if it were to sit in the creases and the lines or against the hood or whatever it is, that would look lovely. But the excessive winged liner, creators on YouTube are always doing wing liner, and I'm just like, pass. Not going to work for me. So that's what I got for you. Those are the things I'm telling you should watch out for. I'm not telling you what to do. And I'm not telling you that I got it all figured out. I'm telling you that this is what I figured out, and I wanted to share it with you. Because at the end of the day, we are getting older. And we could call it mature. I mean, and there's probably like a dozen other words that we could input at this point, but they all mean the same thing. We are getting older, and we need to play to that. And we need to not necessarily continue doing our makeup 100% the same way that we were all the years prior. So no matter what age of life you're at, you should always be mindful about kind of what it is that you're doing. It's when we start to go on autopilot and don't pay attention, that's where we're not putting our optimal face forward. So I do want to say, as PC I was trying to be in versions 1 and 1.5 earlier today when I filmed this video, let me say this. I firmly believe that makeup is a form of art as well. And if that is how you choose to use your makeup, then nothing I said today applies to you. Meaning, what I'm presenting is how to continue to kind of go along with your age and kind of enhance your natural beauty, or enhance the beauty that you want to put out there. But if you are using, you know, like I said, if you're using makeup as an art form, and as a, you know, we express art as a form of actual artistic expression and personality expression, that's different. I totally respect that as well. So I'm saying this from the perspective of how can we look our best, basically, on an everyday kind of normal sort of basis. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? I respect either one. Is there anything I left off my list? Please tell me about that too. Like, oh my gosh, do you not like kind of corally pink sort of lipstick? Is that like no good anymore? Please let me know, because that's what I've been wearing the entire video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Please find me on Instagram and Twitter. I invite you to be a subscriber of the G Crew so that you can find more non-BS videos from me in the future. I am planning to do a Sephora haul update and review video. I got my products from the Beauty Insider sale. I've been using them a little bit. I'm going to give you a full report, so stay tuned for that. Maybe subscribe so that you can catch that when that does come out. And yeah, thanks again for spending your time with me. I hope you have a good rest of the day. We're going to do our best to age as best we can, and whatever winds up happening, we'll take it as it comes, right? All right, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.